Hey everyone. Hello, hello. I cannot believe it's Monday again. I feel like I say that every Monday now. I'm like, where did this time go? But it is Monday. Happy Monday, everybody. I am super pumped to talk to you guys about this topic today. I'm obsessed with this topic. I've been thinking about it so much lately. I think it's going to be a good one. I also am excited and want to share this because I don't think I shared it in the group this week, but I'm going to share a little bit more about it. But guess what, y'all? 2 days ago? Yep, 2 days ago was my 3-year anniversary in business. So I'm super pumped about that. I think that's super cool. And I want to share it because I think it's really important for y'all to hear that, which is that, like, you know, I think just sometimes we can compare ourselves, compare our results, compare our clients' results, all of those things. And like the perspective I want to give is like, this is 3 years of work, right? 3 years of effort. This is 3 years in. So super excited about that and want to share that, but also just like want that to be something to give you permission. And not that you have to be where I am in 3 years, but just that, again, like sometimes we can get so in comparison mode. I talk a lot about like, stop comparing like your current business to your future business, right? And so that's like an important reminder too, which is like, this is 3 years in. So no need to expect those same results from yourself, but also just, you know, remember what's possible. Hey guys. All right, cool. So let's kind of dive in. I really love this topic because I think that so often with sales, I think sales becomes almost like this like scary thing or scary world or scary, hey Rita, scary forest that we like don't want to enter, right? We're like, oh, I'm bad at sales. I don't like sales. Sales are icky or whatever. And it's like this thing that's like over here and it feels like I know nothing about it. I've never done it. I hear that from so many clients like, oh, well, I never did sales in previous like jobs or roles, so I don't know anything about sales, right? And the reason I love this topic is because it's a reminder that like you are always selling something. You have been your whole life, and like it's time to own that and get good at it instead of feeling like, hey, Joy, instead of feeling like, you know, how do I want to say it? That sales is some like icky thing that lives somewhere else and is outside of you, when in fact, it's not at all. Like it's something you're always doing. You're always in process around. You've been doing it forever, and you get to, you know, decide to own that and be like, oh yeah, that's totally true. I do actually sell stuff all the time. Or you get to make sales this like icky, scary thing that's super far away from you. So here's what I mean by you're always selling something. You're always, I'm going to use the word convincing, and I don't love that word here, but like for the sake of this conversation and me not sitting here for 15 minutes thinking of another word, you're always like selling something, convincing someone on something in your life. Like I bet you do it 100 times a day. I bet you have to sell stuff to your kids all the time, to your family, to your friends, to your spouse, to your partner, right? Like I was going to my parents for dinner last night, and I really wanted my dad to make this certain amazing thing he always, or he doesn't make that often, but is really good at making. And like, I had to sell him on why he should make that, right? On Friday, I wanted to go to the beach. I had to sell my boyfriend on why that was a really good idea, that like we should change our plans on Friday and go to the beach, right? And so the reason I use those like super simple examples is because that is the entire point, is that like in your day-to-day life, you're selling people on different things. It's like a mindset thing of like, I'm helping someone see that this thing is a really good idea and it's a win for them and it's a win for me and it's going to be great, right? And that's exactly what we're doing in sales. Like, here's this thing I have. I think it's a win for you. I think it's a win for me. Do you want it? Right? Do you want to do it? Do you want to take the plunge, right? That is so key to remember in thinking that like, oh, I can see how I do this in so many ways. I'm always selling, you know, again, whether it's to like a friend or a spouse or a partner or a family member, whatever, you're selling them on something when you want something and you want, them to show up in a certain way. And you might be doing it to a friend when you want them to show up for themselves in a certain way. Like maybe you think they need to like stand up for themselves at work. And so you're selling them on why they should do that, right? So the reason I say that and the reason that's so important to keep in perspective is because I want you to see that you already have a way of selling, right? So what I mean is like if you're already doing this, you already have a process that you use or a thing that feels good. So like for me, I'm like all about even energy exchange. If you guys have been in this group or in this space for any length of time, you know that I talk about even energy exchange all the time. And what I mean by that is like, I want the exchange for what I'm selling to feel even and just as good to the person receiving it. So like, that's sort of my MO when I'm selling anything. Like when I was like trying to get my dad to cook that meal I really wanted, like I was like, oh, and if you do that, we should, what did I say? I can't remember, but I think I was like, we should play this game afterwards and I'll stay and play, he likes a game like Rummy Cube. I'll stay and play Rummy Cube with you kind of thing, right? So I'm like bargaining. I'm like, here's this exchange. Like you do this thing, I'll do this thing, right? So the reason that's really important is because then I can take that and go, oh yeah, like I can totally see how I sell people on different things. That's super easy actually. Like as an example, Sarah is, my best friend, and like cheese will sell her on almost anything. Like you can get her to go almost anywhere there's cheese. So I'll be like, hey, I really want to try this new restaurant. They have like amazing cheese. Do you want to go there? And suddenly she's sold, right? And so I'm teasing / not teasing, but the point is like, I can see how in my approach in life to selling stuff, I'm always selling even energy exchange. I'm always selling win-win. That's how I'm positioning it. That's how I'm talking about it. And so it makes 1,000% sense that when I translate that to my business and online, that's how I show up. I sell with even energy exchange. I always talk about value. It's no coincidence that I have a course called Value Centered Sales because I want to feel like there's even exchange, that they're getting as much value as they're giving, right? So I've had this sales process all along. It's just translating it, right? Maggie says, yes, we don't just sell products or services. We sell ideas all the time to our family and friends, like your beach example. And so glad you were talking about this, as sales mastery is one of my themes this year. Beautiful, exactly. So I love that you said sell ideas, Maggie, because I think that's what it is. Like, I think we're selling someone on taking an action potentially, right? So like I was selling Sarah on the action of going to this restaurant, selling my dad on the action of, cooking that meal, selling my boyfriend on the action of changing plans and going to the beach, right? Like, and so all you're doing is selling your clients on taking the action of committing to work together, right? So it's so similar, right? And we all do it in different ways. So again, like for me, it might be around even energy exchange. For you, it might be totally different. But there is a way that you're already doing this. So if you're listening, I would love to just know, like, what's your way of already doing this? Like, how do you get people in your life sold on stuff? Like when you want something, like maybe you're someone that is really good on getting people bought into your vision. Maybe you're someone that's really, really good at making them feel seen, heard, and understood. Like, what is your thing? Because if you know your thing, sales online in your business get so much easier, because you're actually able to do it in a way that you're already doing, that already feels good to you, that already matches your personality, right? This is why I'm so against sales scripts, because my script doesn't match you and your personality and the way you are already selling and already have been selling for a very long time, right? So if I gave my sales script around like even energy exchange to Maggie, that may not fit her, right? But then she's putting herself in a position where it's like, well, sales is something I know nothing about, and it's icky and it's weird, and it's like this forest I haven't entered, so I'm just going to use Lacey's map in the forest, versus like, oh, this is something I do all the time. I can see how I do it really well in this way. I can see how I can make it work for me, and then I can apply a sales process to it, right? So I teach a course called Value Centered Sales, and that's like really what I walk people through, and that is like designing their own sales process, figuring out their own value, figuring out how they're sold on that value, figuring out the way that they sell, and how to make that into a replicable process. Because again, when you do that, it's so easy because you're already doing this shit all the time anyway. When you put it in this position of like, sales are outside of me, they're a scary thing, they're something I don't know about, so much harder. The other thing I would say about this too is that like, you can use those as fun opportunities to get better at things. So let's see, Maggie says, you helped me write my own map, which has been so useful. Exactly, that's the whole point, write your own map, right? Like, if you write your own map, it's going to be really easy to make sales because it's going to feel like you. It's going to feel like it fits. It's going to feel the same as me convincing Sarah to go to a restaurant that I want to go to on a call with a client. It's going to feel just as easy and just as certain, right? Versus when you have someone else's map, it does not feel as easy and certain. It feels like something outside yourself, right? Something you don't know about, something you're not good at. Like, I cannot tell you how many people say to me, like, I'm bad at sales, I'm bad at sales, I'm bad at sales. And I'm like, but like, are you? Because I don't know. Like, I bet I could ask you how you got your kid to eat green beans tonight, or, you know, how you got your spouse to like go get you Starbucks or whatever it is. And you would actually have a way that you were pretty freaking good at it, right? And, you know, I think especially as like service providers that really care about value, like so often our way is way more like emotion-based, psychology-based, feeling-based, that we're getting people to take action. And like, that's great. I think that that's why I've become really great at sales, is because I apply all of the like emotion stuff to it, right? And so that's not wrong. It's not like, well, you just say this one thing and that's what happens. It's like, you get into what feels good to you, you use your strengths, and then you apply it, right? Maggie says, I thought about how I have approached this over the year, and if I had to narrow it down to one thing, I would say I use empathy as my number one principle in sales. Like, why is this useful for you? How does this make your life better? Whether it's a weekend trip with the Hubster or coaching with me to make your marriage better. 1,000%. How does this make your life better? Is your sales strategy. That's so smart, right? Like, and once you know that, you're like, oh my God, this is fascinating. I can apply this everywhere. That's how I'm going to write my posts. That's how I'm going to write my sales copy. That's how I'm going to show up on calls. Like, my job is to be like, I get you, I get you, I get you. And here's how this makes your life better, right? Like, you obviously know your husband really well. If you can be like, hey, I want to go on this weekend trip and this is how it makes your life better, and use the specific things that you know about him, it's going to be magic, right? And that's so true with your clients, right? Betsy says, I feel like I'm easily sold but not good at sales. Well, Betsy, what I would look at is like, where are you doing, like, where are you selling right now? Like, are you selling to your kids? You having to sell something to family members? And again, like, selling in this context being like encouraging someone to take an action, right? So potentially what you're saying is like, I'm way more like in passive mode, not react, or not, I don't like the word reactive, but not like empowered mode. So you're way more like, here's an offer and I take it or not take it. Like, maybe your kids are selling to you more than you're selling to them, but that would be something good to look at, is like, what ways am I selling in my life, right? How am I doing that well? And if I'm not, how can I step into that more, right? Maggie just sold me on her brilliance. Maggie is very good at selling people on her brilliance. She is brilliant. But so that's what I would say is like, how do I step into that more? And I think that that's such an important practice, and in being able to do that in life. So maybe you feel like, shit, if I really look at it in my life, like, I'm not selling to anybody anywhere. Like, I'm getting sold to by my family, my kids, my friends, but I'm not doing it. How can I do it? And then that's like a super fun way to practice and kind of find your style, right? And it gets so much easier once you kind of know what's your style, what feels good to you, what fits you, how are you doing this anyway? And then you can apply it, right? Yes, I get that analogy. Tell me what you mean, Betsy. I'm not sure what you mean by that. So yeah, what I would say is like, this is beautiful practice ground. So if you're feeling like, oh God, I'm bad at sales, or I don't get sales, or I don't know how to sell, always be like, well, how am I doing it in life? Where am I doing it? How can I practice there? And then you can even pick fun things to practice with. Like, maybe, you want to like use the beach example and you're like, oh, you know what? I do kind of want to go to the beach this weekend. So I'm going to sell my, partner on that. And like play with it and have fun with it, because you are literally always selling something if you want someone to take an action, right? Kelsey says, I feel like once I'm on a sales call, I can nail it and do a great job because I'm being authentic. What I need work on is stepping more into asking for the opportunity to have a sales call. That's what I'm working through the most, is like getting discovery calls. So Kelsey, what I would say is like, figure out how you're doing great on a sales call. So you're saying being authentic. Figure out specifically what that means to you. And then how do you translate that into asking for discovery calls? So maybe it's like sharing really authentically why you want someone to get on a call with you, why you think someone should work with you, right? And translating that into your copy, right? So what I know people love about me is that I'm super authentic. So I need that to be congruent all the way through my sales process. So not just on the discovery call, but like my call to people getting on discovery calls needs to be super authentic too, because that congruency is what's going to line it up and make it feel like I know how to do this. I'm good at selling, right? Betsy says, I like the idea that we're always selling. That makes sense to me. Totally. So, excuse me. The other thing in life too is that, again, on this topic of we're always selling something, is that we're going to sell something until we get it, right? Until we have the thing, right? So say I wanted to go to the beach as an example. I'm going to like keep selling that and like weaving that into the conversation and mentioning it and asking for it and whatever until I get the thing. And I think that's so often what we stop doing in the sales process online. So that's another thing I would say, Kelsey, is just like, how often are you asking? Like, are you asking until you get the thing, right? Because I think, again, that's like a thing in life, which is like, once we've decided on it, I think a lot of times we're kind of going to like work it till it works. Like we're going to be like, okay, I really want, my kids to show up in this way. And so I'm going to keep selling it to them until they do. Like I want them to eat Brussels sprouts. And so my job is to sell it to them until they eat the Brussels sprouts, right? That's an example. Not that I have kids, but I would imagine that's a little challenging to get them to eat the Brussels sprouts. But like, I don't think we always take that same approach in sales for our business. We're like, I'll float it out there a few times, but like really I'm going to like assume that if somebody didn't take it up on the first or second time, they're a no, right? Versus like, I'm going to keep selling it till it works, right? And I think that's such another important piece of like, you're always selling something, is you should quite literally always be selling something in your business, whether it's take this action to download my thing, take this action to get on a call, take this action to book a discovery call, take this action to buy me. I think that we need to think of sales as this like cohesive process versus like this thing that I only do on a discovery call, right? So Kelsey, as an example, like you need to work on how to take the way you sell on a discovery call to sell people on getting on the discovery call. Does that make sense? So I think that, again, if we're using selling as like convincing someone to take an action, that's the whole point. You're selling your opt-in, you're selling your email list, you're selling your free session, you're selling your discovery call. You're always selling something in business, and you need to sell it until you get it, right? Just like you would in life. Like, when you know you want the thing, you're going to keep selling it. Then you're going to sell the next thing you want. You're always in that mode, right? And it's so important to apply that to business. And it's like in life, we don't see anything wrong with that, right? Like we're not like, oh, well, like I asked my husband to get me a Starbucks yesterday, and so today I can't, sell him on going out to dinner, right? Like it's not like that. And the same is true with your audience. It's not like, oh, well, I asked them if they wanted that discovery call, 3 days ago, and so I can't ask them again. It's like the opposite. It's like you're always selling something, and the more you're selling, the more sales you'll always make, right? Sort of like the more you're asking in life, the more yeses you're going to get, right? And so what we want to do though is like, we don't necessarily see that as a problem in life, but we see it as a problem so much in business, and we hold ourselves back. Like I would say the majority of people that say stuff to me like, I'm not good at sales, are not actively doing sales, right? And what I mean by that is like, so often we're like stopping ourselves. Again, it's like we think sales are something outside of ourselves versus recognizing it's something we're already doing all the time anyway, and we just have to apply to business. But most people that think they're not good at sales are simply not doing them, right? They're not selling regularly. They're not writing the posts. They're not asking people for calls. They're not sharing frequently. They're not following up with people. They're not asking people to book calls, right? Kelsey says, okay, that is super helpful. That Starbucks analogy is so on point. I feel like I always break it up. I need to stop that. Yeah, totally. Quite the opposite, actually, right? Like, not to go off on like a huge side tangent, but I'll just say it because it's really relevant here, which is like traditional marketing says that somebody needs to see an offer like 7 to 8 times before they'll purchase. And I think new data as far as like online marketing says it's somewhere upward of like, shoot, I don't know, like 16, I think. I'm really bad at numbers and remembering data that I read, but like it's something significant. So if they're not getting on the discovery call, it may have nothing to do with how you're even selling it. It may just be that you're not always selling it. You're not giving them enough chances to make a decision point around that, right? You're kind of like, oh, never mind, versus like, I'm going to keep going like, hey, husband, can you get me Starbucks? And he's like, well, I don't know if it's on my way. And you're like, cool. So I'll do this other thing for you. And then can you get me the Starbucks or whatever? Like, right? You're going to keep selling it till it's sold. In business, we're kind of like, oh, okay, never mind, right? Betsy says busted. What are you busted on? Oh, probably the not selling, right? Totally. And the way you'll get better is to be doing it often, which is why I'm trying to point out this idea of you're always selling something, which is like, this is how you'll get so much better at selling consistently in business, is to be doing it consistently in life, because you'll be like, oh, I actually have a process. I do have a way of doing this. This actually isn't all that hard. It's so funny that it works almost every time when I sell in this way. It becomes so much easier to do online, to translate into your business, to ask more often. But again, we're seeing sales as like this scary thing that I don't know about and I'm not doing. And like the reason it feels scary 9 times out of 10 is because you're not doing it and you're never getting able to like see an improvement in it. But like what I know to be true is like the more you sell, the more you will sell. Did I say that right? The more you sell, the more you will sell. Right? That is never not true. You know, I think that there's, we get so crazy about like this idea of like, I should just be able to sit here and clients should line up at my door. And like, sure, yeah, you know, at some point you're going to grow your business to a point where you have like enough credibility and referrals and content and whatever that people are coming to with more ease. But like when you're going to launch something big or whatever, like, I mean, you guys think about the people that you see doing huge launches. It's like how we all are like, oh shit, it's B school again. It's because Marie Forleo sells the shit out of that. And then she gets about 1 billion affiliates to sell the shit out of it too. She's not sitting there going, well, people know about B school, so if they want it, they'll come get it, right? She's like in it, sell, because the more you sell, the more you sell. Even if somebody wants something, you know what I mean? Like you still got to sell it over and over kind of thing. So the point I want to make with that is if you can look at how you're doing it in person and how you're always selling something and you're kind of always in that sales vibe in person in a way, then it's so easy to translate online because you're going to know how. You're going to know how to apply it. If you're like, oh, I never sell and so I have no idea how to do it and I've never done it and whatever, it's going to feel hard and icky, right? And it's just not. Like you're already doing it. You've probably already done it 6 times today. How are you doing it? So what I would love to know for those of you that are watching now or the replay is like, what do you think you're good at with that? Like Maggie said she's good at empathy. Kelsey said she's good at authenticity. Like what are the ways or the lead factors of what makes you really good at selling in life, at selling something, right? Betsy says not selling consistently and yet claiming I'm no good at it. Yeah, that's huge. Like the only way you're going to not be good at something is to not do it, right? If you're doing something in your business, you can always get better because you can always test and tweak it. Sales is totally that. Like the only way you're ever going to feel like you're good at sales is to sell. And like the crazy part is that's almost one of the only things that's required. Like I think sometimes people get so crazy about like sales copy and the right way to say something and the perfect way to do it and whatever. And like 9 times out of 10, it's just like, but are you saying it enough? Right? Like, are you saying it so much that people have gotten the decision point 8+ times? Have they had to think about it enough? Right? Belinda says, I'm good with helping people feel comfortable. I love that, right? So then you get to do that in your content and your sales posts and your discovery calls. Like you get to apply that all the way through. Like people want to take an action that I think they should take when I make them feel comfortable, right? I love that. So, you know, I think like another thing is like watch your own buying behavior on small things and just like get curious about it, because like what I noticed too is like I need to be reminded so many times sometimes of like something I want. You know, like anything from like a piece of clothing that I look at online and get retargeted a bunch of times to like, you know, sometimes I'll see like a commercial on TV and I'm like, ooh, I want that Coke Zero or whatever. But I don't like immediately take action and go buy it. I like have 7 other different decision points. And I see it again and I'm like, oh man, I really want that. And then I'm at the store and I'm like, oh, I should pick it up. And then I forget. And then I go back and I see it again. And so what I'm saying is like, I think if you look at most of your buying behavior, we're all not as decisive as we like to pretend we are. Because I hear that from clients all the time. It's like, well, if they wanted it, they would just buy it right when they saw it. And like, yeah, but like, are you doing that 9 times out of 10 with most stuff in your life? Like, probably not. You probably need prompted many times because our heads are crazy, noises everywhere. You know what I mean? So that's something I would think about too, is like, again, on the concept of you're always selling something, what are you always being sold on in real life? And what's your buying behavior with that, right? Because when I look at mine, I'm like, oh yeah, it totally makes sense that my clients need several decision points, because like, you know, sometimes I get a decision point when I'm scrolling at a red light and I'm not going to like actively buy then. And then I get it later on TV, and then I get it later in like an ad, or then I get it later at a store or whatever. And like at a certain point, I'm going to jump off the fence, but like it practically is not always going to happen the first time I see it, right? So that's another point of like you're always selling something, is that you have to be selling consistently, period, to get things you want. Just like in life, we were talking about the Starbucks thing, like you're not going to say to your husband like, hey, can you get me Starbucks today? And so then you can't ask him to go to dinner in 2 days because like you asked him for Starbucks. Like you're going to keep selling because you're going to want something different. And then after you sell him on going to dinner, you're going to sell him on, you know, like going and hanging out with your family or whatever it is. But like you're always selling something because you always want something. What do we always want in business? We always want more sales. So we have to always be selling. So the point is, there's so many parallels between you convincing people to take action in life and you convincing people to take action in business. And when you look at those parallels, it gets so easy to sell in business. And when you go, oh God, there's no parallels, I know nothing about sales, I don't do sales, you're going to stay stuck forever. And you're always going to have that story of like, I'm bad at sales. Sales aren't for me. When you can go, oh wow, I've already been doing this for a really long time and it's actually kind of easy and I can see how I get all these things I want in life when I sell someone, it's going to be a no-brainer to do it in business. And then I would go a step deeper than that, which is like, if you feel like in life you're never like asking for what you want or selling anybody on anything, then you have a whole deeper mindset issue, and it has nothing to do with sales. It has to do with like getting clear on and asking for what you want. And cool, then you can dive into that, right? But the point is, if you're doing that thing where you think sales are outside of you, that's okay. But it's time to look at how you're already doing it, how you're good at it, and how you can apply being good at it to business. If not, you got some mindset work to do. That's cool. That's really great to know, and you can shift that super fast, right? But you're always selling. You should always be selling. If you want more sales, you got to sell more, and you're probably already good at it. So watching now or the replay, I still want to hear, what are you good at? If you're not sure, tell us that too. Let us help you figure it out, because it's so important. Like, I know for sure what I'm great at sales is helping people feel seen, heard, and understood, right? Like, hands down, I'm amazing at it. My clients love it. My sales calls love it. It's why people buy from me. It's why I get sales. It's also why I'm really good at it in life. I'm always focused on even energy exchange. I understand you. I'm going to help you see how we can have an even energy exchange. And the more I realize that I'm doing it in all these ways, the more I get better at it in business. And I just feel like it's like a no-brainer. Like, I'm always confident that I'm going to make sales because I'm always selling and I'm determined how I'm good at it, right? So like, you can do the exact same, and then you're going to get on a sales call and be all like, oh, I got this. I know this, versus like, oh God, I'm so bad at sales. How's this going to go? No, you're going to be like, oh, I'm really good at this. I got this, right? Betsy says, mind blown. In biz, we always want sales, so we always need to be selling. Shut up. Yes, right? It's a biggie. It's so true though. Like, and I think that's such a key. Like, I just like always go to like, look to the people that you look up to. Like, look to like people that are huge in this business. Are they always selling? Because I think that we just tell ourselves this story that like, oh, well, people will think something about me. Like, people will think I don't have clients or I'm not successful or whatever if I'm always selling. And it's just like not true at all. I would say like the vast majority of people that are experiencing major success in this business are outselling you by 100-fold, right? And the reason they're seeing massive success is because they're outselling you by 100-fold. You know what I mean? And the same thing with people that always get what they want in life, right? It's because they're always selling and they're always figuring out a way to get what they want. And I don't mean that from a manipulation standpoint. I just mean like they're always available to like be good at that and ask for what they want and figure out how to have someone take action, right? And so the same is true for your business. Is like, the more you're selling, the more you're asking for what you want, the more you're going to get sales, the more you're going to get what you want. Always, 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 right? Belinda says, I could use a Starbucks about now. I am feeling you on that, Belinda. I would love that. Maggie says, I love this so much. Hashtag always be selling. I talk about this in marriage and it's always befriending. Oh, I love that. And the principles are so parallel. Like, always be connecting is the bottom line for success in sales or in any relationship. Always be sharing what you have to offer. Make sure the other person knows that. So good. Maggie, I love that. That's so true. It's sort of like, you know, I love me a good relationship parallel. And I think that totally makes sense. Like, I imagine people are coming to you kind of like, oh, my husband and I aren't connecting. And you're like, but are you like, or I'm bad at connecting with my husband. I'm bad at communicating with my husband. And you're like, cool, but like, are you connecting? Are you communicating? Like, are you actually doing that? Or do you just think you're bad at it, right? And I think the same is true with sales. Is like, the way to like always make sales is to always be selling. Are you doing that, or do you just think you're bad at it? I think that's so fascinating, right? Mira says, you're making me feel seen, heard, and understood right now. Thanks for this. You're so welcome. Hey, Elisa. So yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing, Maggie. I really love that piece, which I think is just what we all do to ourselves sometimes, right? Is like, we want a thing, but we're not doing the thing. You guys know and have probably heard me say this quote like 100 times because it's my favorite of all time ever, which is that Rumi quote, which is, open your hands if you want to be held. And I just think if I ever have a question in business, I always run it through the filter of that quote because it answers every business question there ever is. And the same is true with sales. Open your hands if you want to be held. Go sell if you want to make sales, right? Go serve if you want to make sales. Go give value if you want to make sales. Like, it's so easy when you run it through that filter. And so the point is, you already know this, right? You know how to make sales. You're doing it in life, or you know you have mindset work to do. But it's so much easier than you're making it out to be. You just have to figure out your way, your process, and apply it to your business. So hope that was helpful. I love you guys. Oh, the thing I do want to mention, speaking of this, it's so funny because I talk about sales all the time, but I am so bad at remembering to do it sometimes. So I'm going to like walk my own talk. Maggie says, yes, are you connecting? The way to stay in love is to always be creating love. Same. Amen. I love that. So true. It's crazy how we can overcomplicate things to death, but it's really quite that simple, isn't it? So speaking of selling, my course with Sarah, Happy Magic, is open right now. I'm so freaking excited about it. It is like going to be the funnest thing ever. If you have watched Happy Thoughts Show, if you guys know us on there, you know we like to have a good time. We're super fun. We like to be really authentic and do it with you. So Happy Magic is basically about manifesting a goal that you want, picking a thing and making it happen. We see so many people overcomplicating everything, which is so funny because it's exactly what we were just talking about, which is like, I need these 700 strategies. I need these 800 tech solutions. And like really, the end of the day, what you need is to get your mindset in check and to know that you can manifest almost anything and everything you want very, very quickly if you get out of your own way. So we're trying to teach you, like, you can be happy, you can work smarter, not harder. Sure, you can have the strategy and the tech solutions, but this is the foundation for getting things that you want and feeling like you can create magic versus just like pushing through and doing the hard work all the time. So we're gonna take you through a process. It's gonna take 10 minutes a day or less. We're also doing it with you. So we're gonna share all of our worksheets with you, or what we're manifesting, how we're creating magic, and share it with you along the way. You're going to have an accountability pod of sisters, which is going to be so fun. Like, I think that's another thing, again, that we're so just missing is that like authentic connection, you know, of other people going through it. And I think it's really, Happy Magic is really built on the premises that we were just talking about, which is like, what you want is actually so easy to get. You just have to be actively doing it. Like, sales are really easy to get, but you have to actively be selling. Or like Maggie was saying, love is really easy to create. You just have to be creating love, right? And the same is true with Happy Magic, which is like, we're not going to teach you anything like mind-blowing that you don't necessarily know. But what we're going to ask you to do is to actually do the process every day. Like, if you do this process every day for 90 days, you are going to be fucking blown away at like what results you can create. What's wrong with most people that are not manifesting or creating what they want is they're just not doing those simple steps every day, right? It's just like, if you're not getting sales, you're probably not selling every day, right? So the whole point of Happy Magic is like, if you're not manifesting what you want, if you don't feel happy, if you don't feel like you have what you want right now, whether that's your next client, your next relationship, whatever, the principles apply everywhere. It's because you're not actively participating in that on a daily basis. Like, any time in my life, and I truly mean any time in my life, I have gotten super effing clear on what I wanted. I participated in its creation every day, both mentally and with my action. I have never not gotten it. And I bet the same is true for you. The gap is always that we're not participating in it every day. Like, just like we were talking about with sales, like the gap is that I'm just not selling that much. I'm not acting like I'm selling. I'm not realizing that I'm always selling. I'm not realizing that I'm good at it, right? And so with Happy Magic, again, we're not teaching you like, you know, spin around 5 times, tap your nose, and rub your stomach. We're teaching you like, hey, if you do this thing for 10 minutes a day and really give it your energy, in 90 days, you're going to feel like a freaking unicorn and you're going to have what you want. And if you spend the next 90 days passively thinking about what you want sometimes, but not being clear and just taking a whole bunch of action or staying stuck in not taking action, you're not going to have what you want, right? The time's going to pass either way. You get to decide if you want to like actively put energy and attention to like getting exactly what you want every day. And that's the container that we're creating. We're doing it with you. I'm super excited. I already picked my Happy Magic goal. Sarah picked hers yesterday. I think both of ours are like pretty stretch goals for us. So it's going to be fun for you to go through the process with us and see us, you know, create them and how we create them. And you get to hang out with us and we're just like a really good time. So we'd love for you to join us in that. It's happythoughtshow.com/happy-magic. I'll put the link in the comments. If y'all have any questions about it, let me know. Closes August 3rd, which is Friday. So you have till Friday to get in with us. It's just going to be so fun. Also, it's like ridiculously cheap and you get 5 coaching calls with us. It's $297, daily emails, 5 live coaching calls, 5 live trainings. The reason we made it so inexpensive is because it's the first time we're running it. So this is kind of like our beta round, although not really beta in the sense that we've tested and tweaked this process for years. But like, it's never going to be this price again. So join us now if you want to. It's going to be so fun. So fun to have like actual real accountability groups and sisters in it and to get to hang out with us. So let me know if y'all have questions on that. If you're watching the replay again, I want to know, like, what are you good at with selling? What's your thing? the more you can like name that, claim that, and own it, the more you're going to see it come to life. So thank y'all for watching. I love you guys, and I hope that you have a great week. Bye.